All right. Every 9 minutes, a child in the United States is sexually assaulted. Think about that number. It is chilling and horrific. And now, an amazing woman here in Detroit, Michigan, is on a mission to stop that, to help children be protected, and to help get the resources required to make sure that the perpetrators are caught and prosecuted. I want you to welcome to the Goddess Power Show today, Linda Little. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. It's a pleasure to be here. And you're right. That statistic is astonishing, isn't it?
Horrific, horrific. And sadly, so many people I know, including myself, have dealt with that topic.
Yes.
So it's awful, makes me want to cry. But I'm
Hmm.
so proud of you, Linda, for taking this bold action to launch the Don't Touch Me global movement. Can you talk about what inspired this, please?
Yes, yes. And that statistic is only from reported cases, right? You and I know, and so does your audience, that there are many, many, many more cases that have not been reported. And so this Don't Touch Me movement actually stems from not only my personal experience going through this with my child, um, but also a teacher had referred me to some videos to teach, about safe touching, untouching. And in this video, it's kids teaching kids. And so it's like a little cartoon. And a little girl in the cartoon said to the audience that's watching the video, if somebody tries to touch you and it makes you feel uncomfortable, you say very loudly, "Don't touch me." And you run and tell an adult. And that stuck with me. And as over the last 6 or 8 months, you're in the Detroit area, it's almost every day something's coming out about a child being abused and that they've reported it to the authorities and nothing was done to keep that child safe. And so that's my experience. It's been a year and a half. I've been doing everything I can possibly do to keep my daughter safe, and nothing is happening. And so this movement is not just for my daughter, it's for the Naziah Harris's, it's for the young lady who was at the Cornerstone Academy being raped repeatedly by the security guard, and the school reached out to report it and nobody followed up. It's for all of these children whose voices have been silenced. And all they want is to be safe and protected. And we as adults in our communities, the system has a responsibility, but we as adults also have a responsibility to protect our children. They are our future. And if we don't do it, who's going to do it?
Mm, wow. So, Linda, it is in conjunction with the Neighborhood Services Organization, correct?
Yes, I'm the CEO of the Neighborhood Service Organization. So it is actually the Neighborhood Service Organization that is, we serve vulnerable populations. I just left I have a quarterly meeting, at least with our women's shelter clients. And I just literally left there to come here to join you in talking to them. And the number one reason that women and children are homeless is because of domestic abuse. And children who grow up in homes where there's domestic abuse have a 5 times more chance of being abused themselves. And
Mm,
so our population, abuse and our population go hand in hand. When you're talking about vulnerable populations, they're prey for predators. And so
mm.
this is near and dear to our mission. It's near and dear to my heart. And NSO has been a leader in the community to drive solutions to help our communities thrive. And this is one of them that we're advancing.
Hmm. Okay. Wow. Can you talk about what the program is and how it works, please?
So Don't Touch Me is more than just a campaign. It's a movement. So it's not just NSO. We need the community to come together to spread the word, to promote awareness, to raise the community's knowledge about what predators look like, what their traits are. They're the same traits over and over: manipulation, um, lying, grooming children, being. I mean, we know what these traits are if you've experienced this, but the mass community does not, and especially our legal system. And so, what we want to do is promote awareness, require training of law enforcement, investigators, judiciary, so that they are aware of these traits. And that way we can have more accountability once they do enter the court system. 76% of perpetrators are family members, people the children know. Only 20% of them ever see a courtroom.
20%?
20%. That's
And
a
why is that?
horrible statistic because of the high degree of manipulation that is involved. In my situation, they're saying that I'm coaching my daughter. How do you coach bruises? How do you coach physical evidence? And so it's easy to listen to this narrative, especially when you have systemic, racism, you have implicit bias, you have stereotypes. And if somebody doesn't show up in the perfect way that that person who's evaluating feels that they should show up if their child is being abused, then they're judged. And sometimes that judgment impedes action. If a
Mm.
child, we had at our press conference yesterday, we had a clinical psychologist who spoke, and Dr. Moten said, children respond to trauma very differently than adults. A child can appear to be well adjusted, can appear to be happy because they suppress their trauma. Children don't know how to process trauma, they just suppress it. So they push it down way deep and pretend like it never happened until they become an adult. And then all of this trauma comes up because it's impacting their ability to function in life. We've got to stop
Wow.
that. We've got to stop this horrible, horrible act that is completely, completely preventable.
Hmm, hmm. So, how can you get into the homes where the manipulation is occurring, Linda, to stop this? Because it's just so deeply rooted.
Well, that is a great question, and I don't have the answer for that. This movement is really around um, advocating to promote knowledge, increased knowledge and awareness, but mostly reforming the system so that once a child enters the system, if the abuse happens, so the prevention part is on the awareness side, right?
Hmm.
What parents need to do, tips for parents, being aware of what the predator traits are, how to report abuse, and then we want to have, once if they do happen to experience this horrific ordeal, how do we get the system to protect them, to hold predators accountable?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that is what the Don't Touch Me movement is about. Requiring
Hmm.
training, like I said, it's so hard to believe that training is not already required. And the
That
example I
is.
use is if you need a life or death procedure, because I'm a nurse, I'm from healthcare. If someone needs a life or death procedure, you don't want a physician or a surgeon to do that procedure who has no training and no experience in handling that,
No.
and your life is
Hmm.
in their hands.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
that's what we're doing with our children.
Mm.
That's what
Mm-mm-mm.
we're doing.
Hmm.
So, at the very least, let's have required training. Let's have, just like we have now at every physician encounter, when you go to your primary care doctor, they ask you questions about your mental health. Well, how about we
Yes.
ask questions about safety and abuse? Can we ask
Yes.
at every pediatric appointment?
Right. Right.
So
Right.
things like this are what we believe are low hanging fruit.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
NSO is the catalyst. I hope that we can be the glue that brings all of the community stakeholders together around
Hmm.
this particular cause that we
Hmm.
all share. If our children are not protected, then what
Right.
happens to our future, right?
Right. Right. So, how are you getting the word out and what has been the response among those stakeholders?
So everybody gets it, right? Anytime I have a conversation, their eyes light up. You tell them statistics, and it's like, whoa, they had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think getting people to understand the issue will be difficult. It's getting
Mm-hmm.
people to act on the issue is what's
Mm-hmm.
challenging. So we have a
Mm-hmm.
website. It's called don'ttouchme.wiki. So .com was taken. That's the only reason it's the wiki. So
Okay,
don't
so
touch
don't touch me.wiki, WIKI.
WIKI, and
Okay.
it is linked to our NSO website as well. And
Uh-huh.
on that website, there's information, statistics, there's resources, there's contact numbers, there's a digital toolkit that you can download and share. We encourage everybody to share it widely.
Mm-hmm.
You can join our movement as a supporter. You can donate, and and people can tell their stories,
Mm-hmm.
share
Mm-hmm.
their experiences. Sometimes you need a place to be heard. And
Mm-hmm.
we're hoping that we can collect those experiences and they can help us with our advocacy efforts so that
Mm-hmm.
our legislators can see this is a widespread problem. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just a couple of people. So
Mm-hmm.
we want people to share their stories as much as it seems like it would be more traumatizing, but it can actually be very healing depending on where they are
Yes.
in their healing journey.
Absolutely. Just like when you write a book, it helps you heal because you review it, release it, and share it with other people to empower them to tell their stories, which is ultimately healing for them as well.
Yeah, you take your power back. That's what it does. Telling your story
Yes.
takes your power back.
Hmm. I love that. So, for all those listening or watching right now, Linda, what can they do to help with this movement?
I would ask, first of all, if you have experienced abuse, childhood abuse, if your child has experienced abuse, um, seek help immediately. NSO, if they're local, we have therapists, psychiatrists, physicians on staff who can help you. You could schedule an appointment, same day or next day appointments at 888-360-WELL. So that's the first step. Take care of yourself. The next thing, if you want to join this movement, and I encourage people to do so, go to don'ttouchme.wiki and sign up. Sign up to join in the way that is comfortable for you, whether you want to just sign up to be a supporter and receive information and continue to evaluate how you want to jump in, or you want to tell your story. You want to donate, even if it's $5, $2, whatever it is, that would be a great way to do it. And then just share the information. Social media is a powerful tool. So I'm asking that everyone, download our digital toolkit. There's things that are on there that are readily able to click and download and share. That was
Hmm.
the intent about the tips for parents. If there's a child being abused, predator traits and statistics so that people are
Hmm.
aware of how prevalent this issue is.
Hmm. Hmm. I'll put the link here. And so, what outcome would you like to see, Linda?
I want to see required training for law enforcement and investigators who are handling cases involving children because it's very
Hmm.
different from adults. Age specific, trauma informed training. I'd like to see every pediatrician having an assessment tool, just like we have for depression or mental health issues for abuse.
Hmm.
And so it would be pediatrics, family medicine, primary care. And then I would like to see systems that are reformed to close the gaps that allows these children to fall through the cracks. If somebody's
Hmm.
repeatedly reaching out for with abuse and they have physical evidence, there's evidence. There should be accountability that that child's safety is put first.
Hmm.
Keep
Hmm.
children safe, protect the child. And I know foster care, there's a lot of emphasis on foster care children because they don't have parents and they are wards of the state. Children who have parents and families tend to shift that to the side. Well, their trauma is the same. It affects them the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So they need
Mm-hmm.
to be protected as well. So I
Mm-hmm.
want to see system reform and have an oversight that holds these systems accountable at each
Mm-hmm.
segment of the system. Child Protective
Mm-hmm.
Services has their own investigation. The police have their own investigation. And the judges have a responsibility to respond as well. And each of them independently has a responsibility to evaluate and assess the safety of the child from their
Mm-hmm.
own vantage points, not
Mm-hmm.
relying on the other entities to do that work because they're
Mm-hmm.
trained in different ways
Mm-hmm.
and they have different responsibilities in the system. So
Mm-hmm.
what's happening today, it seems, is that, you know, each entity is relying on each other. For example, Child Protective Services is relying on the police to investigate. The judges are relying on the police and Child Protective Services to investigate. So if they don't do anything, the judge isn't doing anything. If the police
Mm-hmm.
don't find any criminal activity, then Child Protective Services doesn't do anything. So that is how all of these children are falling through the cracks. It's like everybody's
Mm-hmm.
passing the buck to somebody else.
Mm-mm.
And
Mm-mm.
there's nobody providing oversight to make sure there's
Mm-hmm.
an integrated approach to
Mm-hmm.
managing the safety of this child.
Mm-hmm.
So an
Mm-hmm.
example is some we used to have in healthcare, because that's my world. I have to give that background. If somebody came in with a diagnosis of cancer, the reason why cancer centers were put in place as centers of excellence is because there are interdisciplinary teams who rally around that patient and looks at all the information together to say, so radiology is looking at the information, whatever if it's a breast cancer, the gynecologist or the obstetrician is looking at from their perspective. Then you have, whoever the oncologist is, and there's a team of people, surgeons, whoever's going to do the surgery. They sit down together and they talk about what's the best approach for this patient based on their perspective, their training, and the
Mm-hmm.
evidence that's presented.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
all about what's best for the patient. That's what needs to
Right.
happen for our children.
I love that, Linda. What about after a child has been abused? Are you helping to provide services for counseling, therapy, and healing for the child psychologically and physically?
Yes, so we have an integrated approach to healthcare here at NSO. Our primary care, psychiatry, we have therapists, we have case managers to offer supportive services. And so there that integrated approach is how we approach our populations here.
Mm-hmm.
And if
Mm-hmm.
somebody is in need of services, please call their primary care doctor. They can call us at NSO for an appointment, same day or next day, 888-360 WELL. And I think the number is 9375. Let me see. Everybody doesn't spell out the numbers on their phones anymore.
Right, right.
So it
So,
is
Linda, while you're doing,
9355.
can you
Eight
say it
eight
one more
eight
time?
888-360-9355.
Perfect. So, Linda, you're in Detroit. NSO is in Detroit. And this is a global movement. The Don't Touch Me movement is global. So, how are you integrating people around the world and across the United States in the movement that's rooted here in Detroit?
Well, we did a press release globally yesterday, and it went
Mm-hmm.
out so far, it was picked up at, I think, almost 400 media outlets across the globe. So,
Wow.
yes, and that was just yesterday. So that is our strategy to get this out across the globe, to interact with media outlets. Our PR team is following up with calls. So hopefully we will be on the circuit talking about this issue, collaborating with folks on the grounds in those respective cities across the country and globally. I mean, this is an initiative that is so needed everywhere. There are countries that don't even have systems in place to protect children,
Mm-hmm.
and they have to rely solely on non-government organizations
Mm-hmm.
to provide support.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a very widespread issue that needs
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
attention.
Yes. Speaking of support, do you need financial support because people will say, well, there's no resources to do all these extra trainings and provide all these other resources. What's your thought on that?
Yes, we absolutely do need financial support. And on our website, there is an option for people to donate. A donation of any size can help. You know, this is a grassroots initiative. So there's not a major funder. We don't have, somebody who's writing a check for us to do this. This is grassroots because it's needed every day. We talked about every 9 minutes, a child is sexually abused. That is reported. So
Right,
there's
right.
even more
Horrible.
that's not reported.
So, wow. Linda, what about helping the children who've been victimized with the
Oh,
shame and even the guilt, sadly, that they did something wrong?
yes. That is a very tough question. And it's probably the most heartbreaking because it 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 reprograms the identity that that child once held before their innocence was taken away from them. And so we know that there's nothing that they should be ashamed of. We know that they did nothing wrong. But the key is to prevent it from happening in the first place. So teaching people about, the traits of predators, what to do if they suspect their child being abused is critical. You need to prevent it from happening in the first place and
Hmm.
then support them, believe them if it does happen. If they speak up, because that's part of it too. If we believe them and listen to them, that's giving them power because it takes a lot to share that, to use their
Hmm.
voice to tell what's happened to them, this horrible
Hmm.
thing that they can't even understand. Oftentimes children are confused. They don't know what that is. And if
Hmm.
they have voiced it, we have to listen, believe them, and act on it and tell them we believe them. Tell them we support them. Tell them we hear them and take action.
Wow. So, Linda, if the majority of perpetrators, abusers are parents
Family
who
members. Mm-hmm.
family members, and the saying goes, hurt people, and chances are the family members may have been abused themselves and are just repeating the trauma for the next generation. It's all the more important for people in the community, so teachers, people in the faith communities, to recognize signs and take action, right?
Yes. And so because this is such a deep rooted issue in our society, you are touching on all the tentacles that makes this such a highly complex situation, right? And that is why we have to focus on, I think the children are most important now because they are the most vulnerable in our society. We have to protect children. If we start there and then provide the access to resources for everybody to heal, then we can start making headway. But if our system doesn't change, if we don't do what it takes to protect children on the front end, this this problem is going to continue to grow, and our society is going to continue to reap the negative consequences of that.
Horrible, horrible. Well, Linda Little, I commend you for launching the Don't Touch Me global movement starting right here in Detroit.
Yes.
I am so excited that you're here on the Goddess Power Show to spread the message. I will put the link to your website here so anybody watching or listening can go to the website, download the resources, take action, donate, and help your mission to raise awareness and get action to protect the children. So, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, I want to thank you so much for the opportunity to join you today. And I do want to encourage your listeners to join the movement. Even if you have not been affected, it's very likely you know someone who's been affected and you may not know it. So
Mm-hmm.
this is very important. We can all resonate with protecting our children. So please go to our webpage at nso-mi.org. We have a landing page there, or you can go directly to don'ttouchme.wiki.
Perfect, Linda. I wish you the absolute greatest success in your mission. I hope that people all around the world are waking up and taking action and supporting this mission and this movement. So thank you so much for coming here on the Goddess Power Show. You've been a
Thank you so much.
tremendous, you're so welcome. I wish you
Mhm.
the best, Linda.
Thank you.
Welcome.